Here's the state of the GOP primary. It's not complicated. That debate last night only mattered for Ron DeSantis because Ron DeSantis is the only one with a prayer at coming back to defeat Donald Trump in a primary, and that prayer is a long one. Right now, Donald Trump is in the driver's seat, and it's going to take a long, well-fought, well-funded campaign by only Ron DeSantis to defeat him if he's going to be defeated. So the point of having a debate with all these losers on the stage, as far as the GOP primary goes, it's kind of pointless. None of these people are going to do anything, but political nerds like you and me, we watch and we analyze, and we can take some things away from it. One of the things it's impossible to avoid is this Russia-Ukraine thing. And here's what happens. And I am someone, I should tell you this right now. I have lived in Washington, D.C. only for a year, so don't judge me. But when I got done losing 2 congressional races, not to brag, I moved to D.C. because I wanted to stay in politics for a year. So I got to know D.C. and got to know people and the area. And to say D.C. is out of touch, it undersells just how separated they are from you and from me, which I find so weird because the people who are there, the elected representatives at least, the House, the Senate, they do leave D.C. often, and they will go back home. And the good ones, the smart ones, will go back home and they will talk to normal people so they can figure out what people care about, what's on their mind. The Russia-Ukraine thing I find to be so fascinating. Not just the conflict itself, and I'm not even emotionally invested, really, one side or the other, I don't really care. I find it to be so fascinating because it has put on display for all of America how separate both political parties are from what we care about, from what we talk about. It's mind-bending to watch Democrats and Republicans at the top talk endlessly about Russia, Ukraine this and Russia, Ukraine that. I don't know about you. I hang out with normal people. I don't hang out with political people or media people when I'm not on the air. I hang out with normal people. I've not had a single conversation, not one, about Russia, Ukraine. It never comes up, ever. People will talk border and taxes and scandals and this and that. Russia, Ukraine never comes up. Yet these Republicans, they can't help themselves.
And 90% of the resources that we send over to Ukraine is guaranteed. It's a loan. It is not 90% of the money that we send over there is loan. Well, we can talk about this, but at the end of the day, 90% of the money that we send over there is actually in the form of a loan. It's not actually not be paid by Ukraine. It's paid by the NATO, our NATO allies.
It's a loan. No, it's okay. It's just a loan. Well, we're not going to get paid back. Well, it's fine. It's all fine. This is the current state of the people trying to be your next president, trying to be your next nominee for president. It is wild to watch it. They are so out of touch that out of touch doesn't describe it. It kills me. It shows you how far rotted we are as a late-stage republic. And you know what? I think I would rather send more money to Ukraine than watch these politicians make jokes. And before I go to the attempt at jokes, there's something about being funny, a sense of humor. Some people have it, and some people do not. And if you're one of those people who doesn't have it, you should know that a lot of this is just God-given, right? Some people are just funny, and they get jokes, and they make jokes, and they have good timing, and some people are not. And that doesn't make you a bad person or a stupid person or anything like that, but it does mean this. There's this old saying, know thyself, know thyself. If you're somebody who's not great at jokes, don't make jokes. So if you're Chris Christie and you're prepping some one-liners, some big scary ones for Donald Trump at the debate, don't do this.
And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
It's really bad. But all of that paled in comparison to Fox News partnering with Univision, left-wing rag Univision, for the debate. And of course, because they partnered with Univision for the debate, they had to bring out this lady, Ilia Calderon, and she got, well, I mean, these were the questions asked at the Republican debate.
Mental health concerns are not unique to the United States, but gun violence is. The Department of Homeland Security warns that violence against LGBTQ+ people is on the rise and intensifying. According to a recent study, members of that community are 9 times more likely to be victims of violent hate crimes. As president, how would you protect this community from violent attacks and discrimination? Florida's new Black History curriculum says, quote, slaves develop skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. You have said slaves develop skills in spite of slavery, not because of it. But many are still hurt. For descendants of slaves, this is personal. What is your message to them?
So first of all, that's a hoax that was perpetrated by Kamala Harris.
This is why the communists have won to this point and why we have lost. This is exactly why. This is why they've taken over every cultural institution, and we whine about hypocrisy every day. Because we will have a debate with our candidates on the stage, ready to present them in the most appealing light to the American people in the interest of winning an election. And Republicans will actually take somebody who's entirely hostile to these candidates and their views and bring this person in and put them on the forefront and allow this person to interrogate candidates in a way that will make them look bad on national television. You would never see a Democrat do that in a million years. In a million years. They wouldn't. It would be like Democrat. I want you to picture this moment. I want you to picture Joe Biden drops out, and now there's a big Democrat debate for president, and Gavin Newsom's running against Dome, and she's running against Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders gets in there. And I want you to picture there's a big debate on NBC, and they announce they're partnering with the First TV, and they're bringing in me, Jesse Kelly, to ask all the Democrat candidates a question on the stage. It would be that ridiculous to bring in that hag. But of course, peak GOP. And then we have this doozy from Dana Perino.
Which one of you on stage tonight should be voted off the island? Please use your marker to write your choice on the notepad in front of you. 15 seconds starting now. Of the people on the stage, who should be? I'm absolutely serious.
With all due respect, I mean, we're here, like, we're happy to debate, but I think that that's disrespectful to my fellow competitors.
Nobody wants to participate.
Let's do some questions. Let's talk about the future of the country.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went. Joining me now, journalist, host of the Great Megyn Kelly Show, which you can listen to and watch on Sirius XM Triumph Channel 111 every weekday at noon Eastern. And obviously you watch her on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly. Okay, Megyn, I've never hosted a debate. So unsurprisingly, nobody's ever asked me to do so. But you have. Dana Perino has an excellent reputation, so I'm not going to dog on her, but that was bad. Dana, it was... Megyn, that's the worst question I've ever heard at a debate, and maybe the lighting was worse than the questions. How did that happen?
That was an embarrassment. I'm embarrassed for her.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, good.
I don't know how she
It wasn't
did
just me.
I don't know how she definitely wrote it and then delivered it and actually thought it would be an appropriate moment.
I'm sorry to interrupt. She wrote it. I was at least giving her an out this morning. I woke up and talked to the wife. I said, someone else wrote that for her. She didn't write that.
I mean, I can't imagine that they've changed the debate prep that dramatically since I left Fox. We wrote our own questions. But then, they go through scrutiny. A debate question goes through layers of scrutiny where you sit with the debate team, you read it in front of your fellow anchors. The executive management team of the debate would hear it. They'd offer tweaks. I mean, this whole thing was planned. Somebody actually went and put the little note cards on the lecterns, Jesse. Like they were planned. She's like, there's paper there. as if they were actually going to do it. I mean, this is, somebody told me very early in my career at Fox News, humor is risky on the air. I did it anyway because I do think I'm kind of funny. Depends on the moment, but so I can be funny. Not everybody can, and certainly not at a presidential debate. And it didn't land. It was awkward. You had Nikki Haley saying, "Are you serious?" And Ron DeSantis had his best moment of the night where he was like, "It's a no."
Okay, we'll actually get to the individual candidates and their performances in a moment, but I have to ask you, Megyn, you are a professional and a journalist and a woman, and I'm none of those three things. The lighting, I've tried to explain to people who don't do this, because I've only been doing this for 5 years or so, how important lighting is. And I try to explain, to the wife, hey, that woman you see on the news doesn't actually look that good. The lighting is perfect. Everything is perfect. And when it's bad, it's really bad. Megyn, they looked like zombies last night.
It really irritated me. I tweeted this out, and somebody online who I follow was like, all right, we're not talking about the lighting enough. I'm like, okay, spoken like somebody who's never worked in television. The lighting matters. The lighting can make you look old. It can make you look tired. It can make you look young and more vibrant. It can make you look sweaty or hide sweatiness. It does matter. And this is why when you sit with President Trump, and I've sat with him a bunch of times for one-on-one interviews, before and after his presidency, the first thing he does when he sits down is he checks his lighting, and he wants to see himself on cam because he's a TV guy. He knows it matters. And the lighting at the first Fox News debate and at this one was dreadful. They looked gray. And Mike Pence looked so old. I've never seen him look that old. Ron DeSantis was sweating. He looked like he was sweating like a church. He got mocked by some Trump fans who saw them powdering him during the break. No, that's what we do in television. We powder all of them. Nobody wants to look at somebody flop sweating on the stage, but that's the responsibility of the news channel. And people should be lit so that doesn't glow the way. I mean, sitting here on this set right here, Jesse, I've got 2 lights up there and I have an eye light down here. And the eye light, come over here, Abs. Come over here. Abby, my assistant's here. Just put your arm in front of that eye light so people can see the difference. No, block it so people can see it. Yeah. So it goes just a little bit lower. You get a little bit more shadow under your face. All right, now get out of here. No. Anyway, it's just a little brighter when the eye light comes back. These little things matter. And at this level, when you're spending, $4 million to put on a debate, you shouldn't have to think about it. It should be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and I'll just do this as a side note for people maybe rolling their eyes at Megyn and I talking about the lighting. The public's impression, I should say, of these candidates, it actually does matter a lot. People say it's still a factor to this day between the JFK and Richard Nixon debate, because JFK is up there looking young and vibrant and good looking, and Richard Nixon looked like he wanted to eat somebody. So that was the difference in that. All right, Megyn, let's move on to this current debate. Look, we're not going to do the winners and losers. Who had a good night, who had a bad one?
Well, there's no question Ron DeSantis had a good night and is getting better at this. Yeah. He improved from the first debate. He seems to be getting a little bit more comfortable, and his sort of probably pre-rehearsed little bits, whether it was on crime or his record in Florida, landed. He's getting more effective at delivering them. I liked this Vivek. You and I have had plenty of criticism of Vivek. I liked this Vivek more than I liked the Vivek of debate number 1, but he's struggling with the fact that it was a 180 changed in personality. So, you're a little like, which one is the real Vivek? The mean, snarky one who thinks he's the most courageous guy on stage and the smartest man there? Or the more humble one who doesn't think we should be insulting each other now? So that was, I don't know, I give him sort of like a pass. Nikki Haley went from having a strong debate where she seemed like fierce to, I think, seeming rude and too aggressive and a little like petty. And Tim Scott went from being a potted plant in the first debate to clearly somebody had like zapped him with, an electric sort of prod. And he couldn't stop himself from interrupting and being kind of annoying. And he crossed over into not a potted plant, but just like a cactus who was very prickly and kind of irritating.
Yeah, you can always tell the candidates who have ears that are way too big because they overcorrect from the first debate and they do the exact opposite to an extreme in the second debate. I wanted to ask you about Nikki Haley because this is a conversation I was having with a friend. Now, I'm not a fan. Full disclosure, everyone knows that I'm not a fan, but we're setting that aside for the time being. She came off last night as nasty. She really came off as nasty. And I kept seeing people say, man, she comes off as petty and nasty. I mean, you just said it. She came off as petty and nasty. I defended her, which I can't believe of all people I did, by saying it's harder for a woman to assert herself. It just is. Men and women are different. It's easier for a dude to say, this is my stage, sit there and shut up. When a woman does that, it doesn't come off as well. Am I wrong about that?
I think she could do it. She just has to be a little bit more effective at it. I mean, look at Margaret Thatcher. She could drop a barb like nobody else and just absolutely devastate somebody. So, and she totally got away with it, but it's a matter of style and execution. And I thought Haley did a better job of it the first time around. This time, if you're going to interrupt somebody with a really nasty insult, it's worse because now it's like double rudeness. The interruption with the really nasty insult. I think it would have been better if she hadn't interrupted, let's say, Vivek, and had let him do his whole little bit on TikTok or whatever it was. She didn't need to say, every time I hear you, I get dumber. You know, as we just said, you and I are full of criticisms for Vivek. I'm fine seeing him criticized. It just seemed kind of petty and like small. Like, I don't know. There was probably a better way of landing that insult where it didn't make her look small. The goal should be to make the other guy look small and not yourself. And I don't think she's quite perfected the art.
Yeah, I get they always overcorrect. She tried to do the adult in the room thing the first debate. In this debate, she was a kid in the back shooting spitwads at the teacher. Okay, did Ron DeSantis do enough to put a dent in Trump's lead? That's really the only thing that matters. Look, Vivek and all these other people, they don't matter. Either DeSantis is going to come back and beat Trump or he's not. It looks like a long shot right now. Did he help himself?
No. So the way I see it is he's not going to beat Trump. No one's going to beat Trump. No one in the history of the Republic has been 40 points ahead and lost the nomination. That's just, let's be real. I understand that DeSantis fans want a different outcome. Let's be real. But this whole process does matter because Donald Trump could be in prison in November of 2024. And we really do need to have our chief alternative. You know, like you're a sports guy. Like, what do you call that guy who's like on deck? Like the runner-up. I don't know what you call it, but you need the chief alternative to Donald Trump. And
on deck.
That's what this
you
is
nailed
about.
it, Megyn. On deck.
Yeah.
On deck. You nailed on deck.
You need somebody on deck. Ron DeSantis was a big baseball star when he was at Yale. He needs to understand he's going to be there with his little hat on, swinging the bat, but he's not actually going to be at the plate unless Judge Chutkan in D.C. puts Trump in jail, which she actually might do. It is a realistic possibility. He could be in prison by November 2024. And I know many people believe the Fifth Avenue rule, Donald Trump can withstand anything. No one will ever turn off of him. That'll only turn on his voters more. I do believe him sitting in prison will be a deal breaker for him. I do. I think those suburbanites, especially the women, are not going to vote for somebody who's sitting in prison. That's not going to happen. So I don't know what the party's going to do. This problem would come up prior to November 2024. It would be he gets convicted. He files an appeal. She refuses to stay the punishment pending that appeal. And then the Republican Party is heading into summer 2024 when you have the convention and that whole bit and has to say, oh my God, we actually have to sub him out. Like, oh my God, who is there on deck? None of this is ideal. All of this is a nightmare. I know everybody's like, Trump was up 10 points in the latest poll. This is a nightmare for the Republican Party. They're in a whole ton of trouble.
I'm so glad you're out there, Megyn, for a variety of reasons. I've been screaming this at people. Every time I see someone brag about how far up Trump is in the polls and the primary polls and the general election polls, I look at them like they're from another planet. Like, you do understand that he's going to prison, right? That I don't care about. But anyway, Megyn, I know you're busy. I'm busy. Thank you so much. You're the best.
It's great to see you, as always, my friend.